This is Newsroom. Hello and welcome from Johannesburg here in South Africa. My name is Evan Jansen. The show is live. It's broadcast from our studios in Auckland Park. We're also streaming live on YouTube right now with the whole show available on demand on our YouTube channel. Now today we asked the question, is racism still alive in South Africa? And what's happening with the scourge in Cape Town? Has the world of marketing changed? Well, the experts say yes. We'll get our monthly update from Newsroom a bit later. And we end off with sport, taking a look at sporting weekend ahead. It's a cracker. And we also remember Philip Hughes, who tragically passed away in Australia yesterday. But first, let's get the day's news from Katrine Miller.
Well, hello and welcome to Newsroom. I'm Katrine Miller, and let's just take a look at the news making headlines this morning. Eskom has warned of more power cuts over the weekend. The energy parastatal has targeted weekends to conduct load shedding to limit the impact on the economy. It says the constrained power system is partially due to urgent maintenance at the Kahora Bassa transmission line in Mozambique.
It is going to be very tough for about 2 years longer, and patience will be needed on the part of all citizens.
The Electoral Commission of Namibia says it's ready to conduct today's presidential and parliamentary elections. This despite some opposition parties taking a High Court decision dismissing their application for elections to be postponed to February on review in the Supreme Court. Opposition parties maintain that the use of electronic voting machines exposes the process to possible vote rigging and fraud. The Commission says the appeal to the Supreme Court will have no effect on the elections. The Economic Freedom Fighters will launch an urgent application today against the sanctions imposed on the 20 of its members of Parliament. Last night, the National Assembly voted in favour of the Powers and Privileges Committee report, which imposes suspension without pay on some EFF members. Julius Malema is among the 12 MPs suspended for between 14 and 30 days. Other members have to make a verbal apology in Parliament. And 11 suspects arrested during an anti-drug raid in Bryanston, Johannesburg, as well as Hartbeespoort in the northwest, will appear in 3 separate courts today. The suspects are aged between 25 and 58 and face charges relating to the manufacturing and dealing of dagga.
We have been working with our crime intelligence on this project, and they played a significant role. That is how we happen to identify all these various manufacturing laboratory. They are around 50 kilometers apart, but today we managed to raid on them simultaneously.
I'll remember all those top stories and more are available on our Newsroom Facebook page. You can also then follow us on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Yevin, back to you.
Thank you, Katrine. This week, scenes of looted shops, burning cars, angry mobs dominated our international headlines as Ferguson, Missouri went up in racial flames. We saw one of the most distressing legal judgments made in history when a U.S. grand jury decided not to indict a white police officer for the shooting of an 18-year-old unarmed black teenager, Michael Brown. Brown was shot dead by the policeman in August. He was unarmed at the time. What we've seen since then have been nothing short of the scenes that were synonymous with what happened here in South Africa under apartheid. The Ferguson riots have again opened the lid on racism globally. Now, here in South Africa, Cape Town is under the spotlight, especially now with around or estimated 11 reported cases of racial incidents in recent time. In the most recent one, 5 students assaulted a woman in Claremont in Cape Town. Now, we are joined in our Cape Town studio today by Grant Pascoe, who've written extensively on social media about the spate of racist incidents in Cape Town. He's a former DA Cape Town Metro Regional Chairperson and now volunteers for the ANC. Grant, very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
What's happening in Cape Town?
Well, it's unfortunate that these incidents have come. It's been very pronounced, and it's unfortunate that we're seeing a spate of racist incidents, and brutally so, on victims. I mean, just a few weeks ago, we saw a young man urinating on a black taxi driver. A week later, we see 5 young white students attacking a colored woman, and these things are rearing its head. A few weeks before that, we saw a doctor shambocking a gardener. A couple of weeks before that, we saw a swimming instructor in Kenilworth assaulting another domestic worker, a woman. So these things are shocking. There's a hardening, it seems. And what's disturbing to me is that the city almost 5 years ago, campaigned on building an inclusive city, building a cohesive city, and integrating its community so that we can all live together in harmony. And that has not been forthcoming yet. They haven't delivered on that. And that's in part of their 5-year strategic document called the IDP. And they should have been budgeting and working closer with communities. But what's really disturbing for me is that there's been no leadership shown by our Premier, Helen Zille, and also our Mayor, Patricia de Lille. Not a word has been spoken or condemning or denouncing the racial acts. We need leadership right now. We need calm heads. And my fear is that when people mobilize, they're going to turn on each other, and we're going to see scenes similar or maybe worse than what we've seen on our televisions, and maybe experience what has happened before democratic South Africa.
Do you believe there's a racial ticking time bomb in the mother city, and we can see scenes like we've seen in Ferguson, Missouri?
Well, I think if it's not stopped now, it could be. I don't want to sound alarmist, but we must not allow these things to get out of hand. We must act immediately, and we need our leaders to show leadership and to pronounce themselves on these matters and get it over and done with, and getting programs and strategies in place to counter racist acts. We see it happening across the world right now. More and more there's a hardening of the lines between races, and we don't need racist acts here. We have a non-sexist, non-racist constitution that we all adhere to and very proud of, and I think we must adhere to those. And if we promise people something, we must deliver on those. And I would make a plea to the Mayor and to the Premier to please denounce these racist acts. Forget politics, forget our constituencies, our core constituencies, but think of those people, those vulnerable victims, but think of their families and think of those communities and the backlash. And we're going to have worse things happening in our country if we don't stop racist acts right now, and they don't come out strongly and denounce those racist acts.
Grant, what do you believe is the undercurrent? What do you believe is feeding this racist beast that's seemingly alive and growing in Cape Town especially?
Well, there's a bit of intolerance building up. I mean, there's intolerance, and I think, let's be brutally honest, from especially the white elite community, there's a bit of an arrogance there, and also I blame the party controlling the Western Cape and the city of Cape Town through its tone. Its tone is not helping us much. Its tone is giving racist people in the white community, and not all white people are racist in this city, I must admit. There's a few, but those are hardcore, and they're taking the arrogant and the pompous line of the Democratic Alliance in their tone, in some of their members' tones, and they're taking that to heart, and they're acting out on that. And that is a shame, because you're going to have innocent people getting hurt, people's lives being damaged in the process, and we need them now to act. We need them to tone down a bit. They can be effective, they can run the city, they can run the province, they can be an effective opposition, but tone down. Forget the racism, forget the tone, the racist tone within that, and the arrogance that goes with that, and the condescension that goes with that in the tone. So let us tone down, and let us build a cohesive society, and let's build Cape Town the inclusive city that they promised us 5 years ago.
That's the promise, yes, but is Cape Town not a city that's really divided today?
Cape Town is very divided. I mean, there was a promise of a spatial development framework. We boast that we are World Design Capital 2010. I was unfortunately or fortunately part of getting that here. World Design Capital was meant to help us integrate communities through changing our spatial plan and designing it differently so that we can have integration of our communities, so that we can build this inclusive city. That has not happened. There are no strategies evident or in place to build and to bring communities together. You still see communities the poorer communities being shifted out, way outside of the city limits. And so if you're going to build an inclusive city, you've got to build some social housing closer to the economic opportunities, get races to start working, playing, and enjoying themselves together and getting to know each other, so that we can get rid of the suspicion. And the suspicion is really filtering and really building up into racist attacks and intolerance of each other.
Now, Grant, we've seen on social media...
But if I may just add...
Yeah?
Now, if I may just add that the overwhelmingly black and coloured communities in Cape Town have been very quiet, very passive. But I don't think we should underestimate that silence, because there's tension that is building, and we must not allow that to happen, and we must act immediately. So my call again is to the Premier Helen Zille and to Mayor Patricia de Lille to speak up and speak out and denounce these racist acts and get people to start understanding that we all have to live together and build one city, an inclusive city, a city where all of us can work and live and play together and build a prosperous society.
Grant, on social media in recent times, some of the videos that we've seen have not been pretty. It's mostly, it seems, young people that are now involved in these kinds of incidents. Is it a concern that there's this growing racist elements amongst the youth of our country?
That is sad, because you would think these kids didn't grow up under apartheid. They shouldn't be involved in these racist acts. But it's scary to think that kids 20 years old, 19, 18 years old are actually attacking people, and the language used while attacking people as well. It's just shocking. And so we've got a lot of work to do. And the funny thing is that many of these kids go to school with black kids, they study with black kids, and they study together, they live together, I'm sure they party together. And that these attitudes still persist. It's scary, and we have to do something about it, and something very soon needs to be done to solve this problem.
What about the polarizing figures within our society? There are some, call them celebrities, well-known people, that fuel the fires of division and racism in our country.
I know who you're referring to. That's unfortunate, because they really have a responsibility in using their fame and their fortune that they've garnered from people that have supported them across the races to really start building an inclusive society in South Africa. If they look at the opportunities that they have been given, even more so in the new democratic dispensation, they should really be playing their part in building one nation and to break down those walls that divide us. And this is unfortunate that celebrities are taking to social media and making public utterances and using the opportunities on public fora to go about and to spout out these racist, despicable sentiments towards other people.
Grant, thank you for joining us today. We've run out of time. It is very concerning that, especially in Cape Town, where, you know, lots, we think about the struggle days and what the people of Cape Town have done to deal with the injustices of apartheid, to now be faced with the rise of petty racism on the streets, attacking mothers and young women and the like, is really very concerning. What are your views? At SABC Newsroom, that's where we love you to send us your comments and tweets. Nonteba says, whites in Cape Town are going to make me go to jail for murder. Clearly, dialogue on racism doesn't do much. Oh, Nonteba's opinion, a very strong one. Gladiator says, also on the SA racism issue, it is escalating, ladies and gents, all over the country. This is not a Cape Town DA thing, says Mrs. Namoy. Ms. Namoy. I Self the Don. Okay. Cape Town, South Africa, the mother of racism, says I Self the Don. Alan Miller says, Ferguson, Cape Town racist attacks seen as an important opportunity for white people to deny or justify racism, not to denounce it. Really, Alan Miller? That's tough. 143 AD says, too many South Africans are complaining about the racism in Cape Town. It makes me not even want to visit the place. There we go. Those are the views. Those are some of the views on this emotive issue in South Africa. With our history, we should be doing better, South Africa. But let's now take a look at the front pages from elsewhere. Around the globe we go. Today the world is paying tribute to the late Australian cricketer Philip Hughes. There, the Daily Telegraph in Australia has a full front page picture of Hughes, the Australian. He's also looking at the death of the cricketer who was struck by a bouncer earlier this week and sadly passed away yesterday at the age of 25. In the United Kingdom, The Times is also reporting on what they are calling cricket's darkest hour today. Before we go to an ad break, let's have a look at what's happening across the country today. In Johannesburg, the Central Energy Fund is expected to release the petrol price for December later. Staying in the City of Gold, the ANC Youth League's National Congress continues at the University of Johannesburg's Soweto campus. There you can see it. in Pretoria, sentencing proceedings in the HPCSA hearing into the conduct of apartheid-era chemical warfare expert Botha Basson will continue. And in our later shows, you'll be able to get updates on all of those right here on SABC News. This is Newsroom. We will be back after a short break.
Our new waterproof smartphone takes superior photos even in low light, has PlayStation 4 remote play and up to 2 days battery life. Don't settle for good, demand great. The new Sony Xperia Z3 series.
Demand great and get the waterproof Sony Xperia Z3 smartphone with a 20-megapixel camera for only 499 Rand per month on a smart small contract this summer. Power to your best summer in 20 years. Vodacom. Power to you.
Welcome back. This is Newsroom here on SABC News. It comes as no surprise to most marketers that experts are saying the traditional way of marketing is becoming less and less effective because consumers have simply, by the touch of a button, switched off. The age of DVRs and PVRs have made it possible for all of us to skip those annoying 30-second ads. And now people have also become so skillful at online surfing that they can take in online information without a care for banners or buttons, making them irrelevant, really. Well, in Cape Town, I'm joined by Brendan Cooper, who is the head of content in the custom division at New Media Publishing. Good morning to you, Brendan. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Pleasure.
How do you explain this new era that we're going into other than the digital world?
I think that where we're heading and what we're really seeing internationally is a trend towards content marketing. I think content marketing is very much the buzz topic in marketing at the moment. And for me, I think it's fast becoming and really is the most effective means of marketing that is out there. As you're saying, the traditional ways of marketing are no longer working, but content marketing is. So for me, that's kind of the future.
What is content marketing then?
Well, content marketing, I think, when it's done properly, is marketing that does two things. The one, and for us, our mission statement as a company is that we connect people to brands through crafted content. And I think the important thing there is connect. So content marketing, for example, if I could give you an example, is say you're a DIY enthusiast. I don't know why, but there are plenty of them out there. And I'm a drill company. I make drills. I could blow all of my significant budget on an above-the-line TVC, or I could place product price promotion type advertising in retail publications, or I could create really brilliant, excellent tips for DIY enthusiasts that get distributed on whatever appropriate platform. Now, what happens there is that connection is the consumer reads it and goes, I'm not stupid, I know I'm being marketed to here, but actually that little piece of content you just gave me is cool, I liked it, I'm going to use it. So thank you for that, and the next time that I'm in the market for a drill, I'm probably, out of all the competitors, going to choose your drill because we just had a moment there. That, for me, is essentially content marketing.
Okay, and what are the significant challenges that you are facing within the content marketing space now and in the next 10 years?
I think one of the things that is happening, that we're seeing happening, is people who aren't really qualified as content marketers jumping on the bandwagon and providing content. Now, the world has a lot of content. We don't need more content out there. But So I think the challenge is that brands need to recognize that you need to go to professionals. You need to, if you're going to be doing text and pics, you should probably be using experienced journalists and photographers. If you're creating audiovisual content, you should probably be using proper directors. People who've been doing it for a long time, have the credentials. And I do see brands trusting people without that kind of background to content market for them. I think is very dangerous.
Do you see this sort of space where brands in the future will be, in their own way, and big business in their own way, be behaving more and more like broadcasters, for lack of a better word?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we've already seen a lot of brands become media companies. Red Bull, for example, isn't an energy drink company. They're a media company. And you'll see that increasingly where brands are entering the space of content, creating meaningful content, and actually becoming media platforms. And I think that really is brands recognizing that they need to give consumers meaningful, useful, engaging content that and that was what content marketing should do. It should actually, I mean, it sounds a bit flaky, but it should make the world a better place. I think you have the opportunity with content marketing to provide content that is that useful and relevant to consumers' lives, that is the brands actually giving back. And we know internationally that that's a massive trend. Brands are looking to contribute socially to communities, etc. And the most effective way of doing that is by providing people with useful, cool content.
Content is king in the future, they say. Let's talk about this thing called native advertising, and it's often spoken about in the same breath as content marketing. Can you differentiate for us between the two and just to give us a little bit more of an insight into native advertising?
Yeah, I see native advertising as sometimes being a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing. What native advertising seeks to do is put actual advertising into an environment, normally a digital platform, where it apes that content, where it tries to look and feel like that content, but actually it isn't. It's advertising. A classic example of that would be Facebook, paid for Facebook posts. I think the danger with native advertising is that consumers aren't stupid, and we saw when Facebook started allowing this a very negative reaction to it. So, I think native advertising has a place. It obviously is effective because Facebook's making a lot of money out of it, and so are the media platforms. Yeah. But for me, it's not content marketing because it's not seeking to provide value. It's seeking to sell. So I think you need to tread carefully in that area when you it could be seen as trying to dupe consumers.
Where are we in South Africa in the content marketing space there now?
I think we're actually very advanced in terms of international quality of our content marketing. We were in this game, we've been in this game, New Media's been doing this for 16 years, so it's not something that's actually new. And South Africa is seen internationally, it's quite advanced in content marketing. We recently, on a title that we published for FNBC Caesar, won 3 awards at the Pearl Awards in New York, which is basically all the magazines in the world competing. And the standard of content coming out of South Africa is winning awards globally. So South Africa's in a really good place.
Well, Brendan, thank you for joining us today. Live from Cape Town there this morning, the head of content in the custom division at New Media Publishing, talking about content marketing, native advertising. This is the 21st century. This is the new world that we're heading into. And, you won't get salespeople coming to your door trying to sell you stuff anymore. Those days are gone. Let's take a look at what you are talking about on social media right now. Greg Lewis Smith says, so, Stephen Hofmeyer lost to a puppet. What a muppet. Oh, everyone's a comedian. Megan Ellis says, yesterday's ruling on the puppet case has resulted in me having the biggest smile on my face today. Yes, Steve Hofmeyer, everybody loves to hate this guy. Tulani says, Chester missing, Viva Amandla. Are you a Steve? FMB words, no, I'm a loser, a puppet case. Yeah, there we have it. Very, very difficult. Yeah, Chester missing. Well, let me take a seat because, we're doing our next segment now, which is New Innovation. Katu, how are you? Welcome back.
Thank you, Evan. Are you good?
Nice to have you with us as always.
Yes.
What have you been up to, you guys at New Innovation of late?
Besides flying around and traveling, it's good.
I've seen Geneva and everywhere else.
Germany and Berlin, all that and more.
It's a tough old grind, Somebody's got to do it, though.
There's great stuff that has happened here. There's a lot of good news that are coming out of Africa.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great things that we constantly need to be updating you. So it's good to be here. We love it in the morning, as you know.
We love it in the morning, man. That's going around the world now. But now, I see here the one thing that you guys are dealing with is Mzansi Innovators, Chris Porter's Drug Sign, a mobile application that helps detect if someone is using drugs based on signs and symptoms.
Yes.
This is really worrying for a lot of people in the workplace because, we know the problem that they have in the corporate world. Now, if the boss is going to test you, you're causing consternation with this.
I think most importantly, Urban, it's more of an advancement onto something that is already existing.
Yeah?
Besides the fact that people do blow on that gadget that people are blowing into, we're now moving into a place where it might not be as intrusive as blowing onto that measure. But this time around, you've got a guideline and an app that will then help you to start looking at some of the symptoms, and you are then able to realize if this and this is happening using that particular app.
Yeah.
It can then be able to recommend that perhaps this could be happening, that could be happening. It is quite conclusive to an extent where you could realize that a high percentage, or when it was being tested, they found that indeed the app was quite correct. So it was developed by scientists and people that have got an understanding of behavioral changes of people that are using drugs per se. Yeah.
So, this have wonderful applications for parents, schools, the like, and it is a South African idea.
Yes, it is. Chris Porter is one of the guys that we've got at the New Innovation Hub in Pretoria, and he's doing very well. I mean, the kind of work that they're doing is very real, and it's based on the reality, what is happening. You do not want to wait when you find your child being a junkie. I mean, these days we've got Nyaupe. I don't think we need Chris's app for Nyaupe.
No, you can just see. You can just look them in the eye because they've got that wild look in the eye.
And when you come back home, you find the fridge is gone.
Hey, my son. Yeah, no, there's a lot of that. It's we might have a giggle about it, but it's a real problem that we have in our society.
We've put it on. It's on the website. Everybody can go and look at it and get further more understanding.
Drug Sign. It's a mobile app called Drug Sign.
Drug Sign.
And you can see if your child or if the children that you're looking after are taking drugs. So Chris Porter's Drug Sign is a mobile app that you should, all parents should really think about this. I'm thinking about that now. My son's only 13. Anyhow, Falling Walls Lab.
Yes.
Lab is a wrap-up of the Falling Walls conference that was held in Berlin. That was one of your latest travels.
Yes.
I want your life, man.
Not as exciting. I'm jet-lagged constantly, but thank God it's holidays. There's three winners that came out, and I'm glad to report that two of them are African. The third place was a guy from Pretoria called Dylan Randall. He's working for a nice big company out in Pretoria.
Yeah.
He developed a system that cleans wastewater through crystallization. Eclectic crystallization. So it actually took Germany by storm and everybody else by storm, and it's currently being tested on its own plant. He's just waiting for some bit of funding for it to come out. But that kind of system or invention that is come up with cleans water in such that out of the wastewater, over 80% of the water you will be able to get it back. So in terms of wastewater, mining wastewater, in terms of acid-based water that is running are under Johannesburg, that is the kind of stuff that we're looking at. And if you look at areas like Kiani and the Kuruman areas where there's no much water, that kind of invention will then be used to be able to clean wastewater and push it back to the reticulation system of the country.
That would be a massive year in Joburg, especially with the messes that the mines have made and the like.
True. The second one, Eben, just a quick one. The second one is a lady called Narima. She's from Egypt. She's about to replace needles. For type 1 diabetic patients. Yeah. Instead of using needles, they're using a blue light, and using it on the body such that that blue light uses the fat cells on your body to be able to release insulin that is needed for the sake of you getting your insulin injection in the morning. So that is the kind of stuff that came out of the Berlin Falling Wall. And it's quite exciting to realize that Africans are taking the world by storm. The last last one is a guy who developed a glove, sort of an app which is connected to a glove, where the deaf and the blind, instead of them just talking and you guessing what are they really saying, the app actually translate what the signs are saying. So it means that it gets to talk and communicate exactly what the deaf or blind person is trying to say to you. So that is a very good innovation that came out of Berlin when we were there. Yeah.
Tell us about the Blog Awards. We just saw on screen there that Innovation been nominated for the South African Blog Awards. But before we go talk about yourself winning, tell us about the Blog Awards itself.
The Blog Awards has been running for a few years now. Over the past few years, they realized that the blogs are actually taking over the digital age, and it's better for us for them to continue to start realizing what these guys are doing. And over the past few years, we've seen institutions like News 24. There's been quite a number of institutions that have actually gone and won this kind of awards. But now this year we're starting to see more and more unknowns and young upcoming bloggers coming on board and actually being nominated for this. This seeks to recognize and reward such kind of blogs or websites or portals or platforms that are doing well in informing the nation and actually getting the information that the nation requires, that it needs speedily.
Now, what Newsroom does is very much what Newsroom does. We try and celebrate what is good in Africa and share that with the nation and the continent.
I think there is the kind of relationship that we've got, Eben, whereby we're saying what we do as Newsroom, let's come and share, and what you guys share, the good news all the time that we've seen coming out of this platform, is what we're sharing. So I guess our nomination seeks to celebrate that and saying, if you like what we're doing, if you like what Newsroom is doing, come and vote for us and let us win.
Wonderful. Now tell us quickly before I let you go, what does the next year look like for New Innovation, and what can the viewers be looking forward to, and people who interact with your blog?
The next year is looking very good. I've just been nominated now onto the board of the South African Innovation Network. People should go and follow it. It is a network of innovators across the country. So we're going to be building up a lot of activities that will be focused on how to build innovators in Africa, mostly in the Southern Africa. We're looking at probably going and having more and more events on the ground and getting more and more young people that can come and start writing and start communicating the stories from their own communities that we can be able to publish. There's a lot of great things happening, but as time goes on, we shall be in a position to talk about it.
That's the future. User-generated content platforms is where it's all going to be at. We think we're going to be partnering with Innovation to bring that to you next year. But Katu, thank you for joining us. That's Katu Mashao, who's the founder of New Innovation here in South Africa. If you talk innovation, if you want to know about innovation, especially on the African continent, what is happening, what's the latest, newinnovation.com is where we live. Thank you, Katu, for coming in as always. Time now for us to take a look at what's happening on Newsroom's Facebook page. As you know, that's the future of news, is Facebook. Today, you will see there that Australia's Cricket Board will launch an immediate review into the safety, this in the wake of Philip Hughes's death. Then back home, the state will continue cross-examining the mother of severely handicapped baby Al in the Pretoria High Court today. And then you'll see that Public Enterprises Minister Lynn Brown says the current energy crisis is going to last another 2 years. You can find all of those stories and a whole lot more on our Newsroom Facebook page. Also, you can visit sabc.co.za/news for all the latest news updates. This is Newsroom. We will be back with you shortly. Don't go away. On drives here behind. Okay, so Kwakwa is out. And Harry, is Harry coming in? We've got
Our new waterproof waterproof smartphone takes superior photos even in low light. Has PlayStation 4 remote play and up to 2 days battery life. Don't settle for good, demand great. The new Sony Xperia Z3 series.
Get the new Sony Xperia Z3 Compact on a My MTN Choice 100 contract for only $399 and get a free 12-month music streaming subscription.
Our new waterproof smartphone takes superior photos even in low light. Has PlayStation 4 remote play and up to 2 days battery life. Don't settle for good, demand great. The new Sony Xperia Z3 series.
Zoom into Africa. This is Burundi. The president is Mr. Pierre Nkurunziza. Burundi got independent from Belgium on 1st July in 1962. The population is more than 8 million people. One of Burundi's major languages spoken is French. Monetary unit is Burundi franc.
Well, hello and welcome back here with Newsroom on SABC News. Let's just recap our top stories this morning. Eskom has warned of more power cuts over the weekend. The energy parastatal has targeted weekends to conduct load shedding to limit the impact on the economy. It says the constrained power system is partially due to urgent maintenance at the Kaurabasa transmission line in Mozambique. The Electoral Commission of Namibia says it's ready to conduct today's presidential and parliamentary elections. This despite some opposition parties taking a High Court decision dismissing their application for elections to be postponed to February on review in the Supreme Court. Opposition parties maintain that the use of electronic voting machines exposes the process to possible vote rigging and fraud. The Commission says the appeal to the Supreme Court will have no effect on the elections. The Economic Freedom Fighters will launch an urgent application today against the sanctions imposed on 20 of its members of Parliament. Last night, the National Assembly voted in favour of the Powers and Privileges Committee report, which imposes a suspension without pay on some EFF members. Julius Malema is among the 12 MPs suspended for between 14 and 30 days. Other members have to make a verbal apology in Parliament. Remember, all those top stories and more are available on our Newsroom Facebook page. You can then also follow us on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Evan, over to you.
Thank you very much, Katrina. Now, Minister of Transport, Dipuo Peters, will launch the 2014 National Festive Season Road Safety Campaign at Harrismith in the Eastern Free State today. The campaign will focus on heightened and intensified education and law enforcement activities throughout the country. Road safety tips for motorists and pedestrians alike, hazardous spots for road users, public and private partnerships in road safety to reduce the carnage on our roads. Every year, increased large traffic volumes pass through the Free State to the major coastal routes, Durban, Port Elizabeth, Cape Town and some others. Now, our reporter, Cornelo Lejafola, is attending the launch and joins us from Harrismith. Very good morning to you, Cornelo.
Yes, good morning to you and good morning to the viewer.
Please just set the scene for us. What's happening there today?
Yes, today in the Harrismith, that is very close to the N3 from Johannesburg towards KwaZulu-Natal. This is the hive of activity here today, where we will be seeing the Minister of Transport, Dipuo Peters, launching their program for this festive season. And it will be a hive of activity indeed, because we can see a lot of things happening behind us here. And that's where we will be getting the information and the kickstart of the program of the Department of Transport for this year, for this festive season. And with me here, I'm having the acting DG of the Department of Transport, that is Mr. Mawetu Vilana. Good morning to you, Mr. Mawetu.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. If you can just give us the outline of the program here today, what are you up to?
Basically, today we are launching what we call the festive season road safety campaign. This is a campaign raising awareness about road safety. As you'd understand, this is the time of the year that many of us as South Africans go around, travel and traverse the roads of the Republic. But the unfortunate thing is that a number of accidents tend to happen this time of the year. Therefore, the Minister today will be launching that campaign to say, arrive alive, don't drink and drive, make sure that the cars that you all drive are safe. So basically the crux of the matter is let's begin being aware and being conscious in how we use the roads in the country.
This is the national campaign that you are launching, but you chose to come to the N3 next to Harrismith. Why this area in particular?
I'm sure you'd appreciate that the Durban-Gauteng corridor is the busiest corridor, not only in South Africa but in the continent. It moves close to over more than 6,500 trucks on this corridor, and therefore it becomes important. A number of accidents, particularly if you drive here 40 kilometers south, you'll hit the Van Rynen's Pass. So majority of our trucking accidents happen on this route, and therefore it's a symbolic gesture from our side and from the Minister to have chosen this area and say, in the Free State along the N3, the busiest corridor, let's keep this corridor safe. Let's make sure that all of us abide by the rules of the road and really be responsible drivers. Because one of the biggest contributors to our road accidents is driver behavior.
We have in Free State at the heart of the country. That is where we find that people, when they are coming from Limpopo, from Mpumalanga, from Gauteng, when they are moving and traveling as the holiday makers towards the coastal areas of your Durban, of your Cape Town, of your Port Elizabeth, they pass through Free State, and Free State seems to be the one that endures the pressure of most accidents that are happening in the country. What are you doing as the department to try to help Free State to curb most of the accidents that are happening here around this time?
I guess the starting point is what we are doing now, having to launch the road campaign in the Free State. But secondly, the unfortunate situation about Free State is that it's a through province. It's a thoroughfare for trucks going to either Durban or KZN, trucks going to the Eastern Cape, to the ports of the Eastern Cape, trucks going to the port of Cape Town. So it's in an unfortunate situation that it's in the center of the country. But however, the reason we are here is to say to people and the people of the Free State, please be aware this is the time of the day or this is the time of the year where our roads are going to be heavy and where traveling is going to be hectic. And therefore, be aware of what you do and how you drive on our roads. But that's the first thing. But secondly, as the CEO of the Road Traffic Management Corporation has been saying all morning long, this is the national launch. Provinces, therefore, will do their own rollouts. Because the issue is about saying, let's then the Minister launch the national rollout, and therefore the various MECs from the various provinces, in support of the work that the Minister is doing, and the work that the RTMC is the coordinating agency, and the agency responsible for making sure that our roads are safe, takes the lead, and therefore Free State, we asking Free State through the MEC Compella to therefore take the necessary actions, and the various law enforcement agencies in the country. And you'll see this year, Minister and the MINMEC approved the budget of provinces or RTMC providing necessary funding and increasing the number of traffic officers on our road. And therefore you'll see more, because what we need to do is to be visible around so that we therefore deter. And therefore that's what we're planning to do. We're going to have the National Traffic Police, which is a component within RTMC. You're going to have provincial law enforcement agencies in the form of provincial traffic police as well as metros being now visible and being out there for people to then not do what they would want to do or not drive in the manner that's really make our roads safe and make other and jeopardize the lives of other road users. So that's what we are here today for, and we are awaiting the Minister who will then come in and open this thing.
Okay. Yeah, that's the acting DG of the Department of Transport in the Republic, Mr. Mawetu Vilana, who has been giving us the information with regard to the program that is being launched here today in Harrismith on the N3 to Durban, that is between Johannesburg and Durban. Back to you at the studio.
Thank you very much, Canela. Now, we're going to end this week's proceedings on a rather sad note. Flags are flying half-mast at cricket grounds in Australia and elsewhere in the world. There's a sign of respect for Philip Hughes, who died yesterday after being struck by a cricket ball in the neck. That was in a match that was played at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Now, our very own Harry Willifeer, who has... You've been to the Sydney Cricket Ground, Harry, haven't you?
No, unfortunately not, but I've watched several games on it. It's a very unfortunate incident. I mean, we can all agree on that. Let's just hope his friends and family find a way to pull through this. Regarding the safety issue, people are now coming out and saying, you know, helmets this and helmets that. If you look at the history of cricket, it doesn't happen. It's the first time it's happened. I think there are reports of, you know, a long time ago, maybe in the 19th century, that it's happened. It is a freak accident. But we can still find ways and means to make the game safer for people to play.
Without being controversial, Harry, the rise of safety equipment, helmets and all the padding that we see today, is it not a fact that batsmen are playing the short ball a lot worse now because they have the comfort of knowing that I'm wearing a helmet, so I can turn my head away from the delivery? We see a lot more batsmen being hit on the head in the modern day because of equipment than we did in the 70s and 80s when there was no equipment. Is that...
I mean, it's something that has been brought up by West Indian players a couple of years ago. I think it was Brian Lara who said that there are more injuries now because of the comfort zone the batsmen are in. So it's, and Michael Atherton, who you remember played in that test against Alan Donald, which Alan Donald gave him the best that he got in short deliveries, full deliveries. A respected batsman. He also is of the same viewpoint, that batsmen are a bit more in a comfort zone.
Yeah.
But it's, if we look at the amount of cricket that's being played right around the world, and for the last century and a half, how many bounces have been bowled? It is, we still have to keep in mind that it was a freak accident.
Yeah, if one looks at the injury, it was really a freak accident and something that's only happened twice in the game of cricket ever, and less than 100 times in the history of the world. Which shows you it's a freak accident. He was hit on a nerve in his neck and suffered a hemorrhage because of that.
Yeah, and I mean, they talk about the helmet being 3 years old or whatever. The fact is, 3 years ago when that helmet was new, it didn't happen in cricket. So hopefully there won't be calls for less bounces or that sort of less aggressive bowling, because I don't think, with respect to Phil Hughes, I don't think that's the problem in cricket. You know, maybe more. We can use this to make the helmets more safe. Of course we can.
But in this case, I already see the new helmets. They've got double trim around the eyes and that sort of stuff. There's no way that you can cover the neck unless you want to put the helmets that the knights of years gone by used to wear. I mean, it was almost ridiculous to think that you'd want to wear a helmet that covers your neck.
And I mean, I read an interesting comment this week as well. People playing professional sports or, you know, doing activities, any sort of activity, we're at risk. I mean, sitting here, we're at risk. So you can't put yourself in a bubble to try and be safe all the time. So there's certain risks that you have to take when you play a sport or when you take any activity. So common sense, hopefully common sense will prevail in this instance.
Yeah, we spoke about the amount of bounces and stuff. We've got this on. For those of you at home that don't know what a bouncer is, the one is normally shoulder, neck, head, the one that targets that sort of area, that's called a bouncer. Of course, in the history of the game, it's always been contentious, but it's part of the fabric of the game, and it should never be taken away, Harry.
No, I don't think it should. I mean, it came to prominence in the Bodyline series. That's when it came to prominence, and they didn't play with helmets at that stage. And that's where we come back to the point you made earlier, that when players didn't wear helmets, they were skillful enough. But also, in those days, there was a fast bowlers pact that you won't bowl a bouncer to a player that's not able to play such a delivery.
Those days are over now.
Because of helmets.
So just in closing, Harry, you say that one shouldn't give in to the mass hysteria after this event. sad as it may be that somebody, a very promising young man, lost his life, but the show must go on, as it were.
Look, I think people that are involved in cricket, people that play cricket at the highest level, know what it's all about, but it doesn't. We shouldn't just move on. We can sit down, older players can sit down and get the game safer. And look, the cricket ball is hard. And, you know, the one thing that I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you see people in crowds not watching the game.
Yeah.
So please, if you go and watch a cricket game, keep your eyes on the game, because the guy hits a six. We've seen injuries in a cricket stand before.
Well, you can get R1 million now if you catch a ball one-handed, Harry. That's the way it is. Everyone's going back to the cricket because they think they can do a one-handed catch. And
just keep your eye on the ball.
Keep your eye on the ball, says Harry. And you don't have to go to the cricket wearing a helmet also. So, although they give sometimes at the Ram Slam, or was it Standard Bank that used to give the...
Some of the games.
Well, Harry, thanks for joining us on a sad note, but bringing us a positive spin on what has been a difficult week for cricket. Thank you, Harry Urifield, from our sports desk. Now, that's where we wrap it. Newsroom, broadcast live, of course, from our studios here in Auckland Park, Johannesburg, every weekday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. The show repeats at 2 in the afternoon with a complete rebroadcast at 5 a.m. the following morning. We also live on YouTube right now with the whole show available on demand on our YouTube channel. This is SABC News. You have been watching Newsroom. We love it in the morning.
A huge part of this African growth is technological innovation. Governments here are working hard to ensure that the continent's technology